Okay, good evening to all of you. We are going to review this book, Unleash the Power of Storytelling, written by Rob Biesenbach. Rob is the author of this book. To give a brief background about the author, he is a business executive and he also has a background of acting. He is involved in acting career as well, and he has acted in some commercials, TV commercials, and he was also part of the corporate world, working in a organization as an executive, and he has shared his knowledge and experience in his own career as a takeaway for us in this book. So we'll learn about those things from this book. So basically, he has also written a few more books like on presentation and a couple of more books he has written. And I think this was his third book or some third or fourth book. So in this book, he mainly talks about storytelling, how why storytelling is very important in the business world, and it applies in all every other aspect. So we'll learn more on storytelling. To start with, as an introduction, in this book, the author is uh, talking about the why the storytelling is very essential. So if you look at today's world, like in social media or everywhere on the internet, there are so much of information out there. The only way we can differentiate an idea is by making it with more impact is is using the storytelling. So if you look at like if you look at the social media or wherever people share their ideas, so there are so many ideas out there, so many content, so many information out there, and this is one good way or a tool that you can use to express your idea and make your idea reach more audience and make a huge impact on the audience. So that is why the storytelling is very essential. And if you talk about a storyteller, everyone might think they are not a natural storyteller. Some people are natural storytellers, but some people may not be natural storytellers. For that matter, like even I am not a very natural storyteller. So in this book, what author has mentioned is that storytelling can be done by anyone. You can learn that skill of telling stories with simple steps which we can follow, and that will create a greater impact for in our presentation or um, where we want to express our ideas. So that's where it is important to understand the storytelling and how it works. And it also the other advantages are like it will break the wall and it will let people to open up and listen to you with more empathy, and it creates a connection. That is also an important benefit of the storytelling. And other thing is that it taps into the emotions of people, so it influences people to act on it. So that is where we are going to learn all these techniques, how we can tell a good story in any setup, like a business setup or any other thing that is applicable for us in our own lives. And moving on to this next one, to understand the effect of storytelling in the brain. So in this book, author has mentioned about the oxytocin. So whenever a person is listening to a story, there is an hormone called oxytocin which gets secreted in the brain. This particular hormone is related to the feeling of connection, and it increases the empathy and the openness in people. So that is why it works. And also this hormone is something which helps in building the trust in relationship. So that is one part, and the other thing is there is another thing that happens in our brain when we are listening to a story, like the brain, which is the part of brain which will be active during we are facing some experience. So that part of brain will be activated when you are listening to a story. So that's why it connects so much to us, because it actually uh, feels like we are experiencing that in our own uh, mind, in our own brain. So, talking about experience, let me give you one quick experience. So, few years back, yeah, maybe let me start with the childhood. Like we all like planes, aeroplanes in our childhood, right? So, whenever we hear the sound of aeroplane, we just look up the sky. So I was also the same. Like whenever I hear the aeroplane sound, I look up the sky and watch it. And I used to wonder when I'll be able to travel in the flight and experience that. And even now, like if I'm hearing the aeroplane sound, I look up on the sky. So that's how it is more. That that is how how close it is for me. One experience I want to share here is when we are talking about this experience, I wanted to go and explore and try that first flying in the flight for the first time. So I wanted to do that, but I didn't get a chance to fly. My dad used to travel, and he had an Air India account. And then one time he had some extra miles in the airline account, and I requested him to book a ticket for me. So what we did is in order to experience that flight, we booked a ticket Chennai to Bangalore, and then I wanted to travel in that flight and see. And so the day of the flight, the flight was around 10 o'clock in the morning, but I was so excited. I went to the airport so early. I went in the morning 7 o'clock itself, and then while I was boarding the ticket, I was asking the air hostess, "Please give me some window seat because I'm traveling in the flight for the first time." So she smiled, and then she gave me a window seat. So she was kind enough to give me the window seat, and then they took all the passengers to the in the bus to the place where the aeroplane is there, and got down from the bus, and then stepped down to the staircase to get into the plane. And it was like a wonderful experience. And since I was the first one to get the boarding ticket, I got the first row in the flight, and I got the first window seat in the right. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And while the takeoff, while it was taking off, I was looking at the Chennai roads, and I was trying to figure out, okay, this is the Madurai road, and this is the Chennai to Vellore freeway, and all those things. And I thoroughly enjoyed and guessing each places. And it was a wonderful experience to see all those places from such a height. And because I am seeing that for the first time, and it was just a 30 minutes experience, the it took some 10 minutes to take off, and then another 10 minutes to land, and only like 15 minutes of travel in the air, totally around like 40 minutes or so. But that experience still stays in my mind because of its first experience. And though many flights I have traveled after that from India to US or within US and within India. I never forget that experience. So when I watched this movie Surarai Potri, there was there is a song which comes Kaile Agaso Kondu Vande Paso. So when I heard that song for the first time, literally I cried, and because of the very same reason of the first experience of the flight. So that was a wonderful experience. So coming back to the topic which we are talking here, it's about the experience. The listener is listening to the story, so listener can relate to the person who is telling the story, and they also kind of can closely relate to what the storyteller is telling, and it connects to their own experience. So that's what is the effect of the experience and the storytelling. So thanks for hearing my story of the first flight, and moving on to the and before moving on to the next one, like there are other effects also on the brain, and there are so many studies that have been done on the impact of storytelling on the brain. This is in this book, author has given the couple of examples about the oxytocin and the neurons related to the experience. But other than that, there are like other things as well, like the dopamine, the effect of dopamine, and the neural chemistry happening on the brain. So that's about the effects of the story on the brain. Then next, I will also tell you another story about Estella. So in this particular chapter, the second chapter, the author talks about one of his experience where he is trying to help a company to create a video content to demonstrate their employees' commitment towards their work in terms of ensuring the quality of their work, quality of the products. Like it is a candy and gum company, so how they ensure quality of the candies that they are making. So this is what all about, and author was helping this company to do this video. So when he was talking to the people who are working on the um, factory, so Estella is the one who was taking care of the quality check. So he was talking to her and understanding what's a day to day work is like. So she was explaining what all she does, like all the checklists she uses to check for each and every batch, and what are the process they follow one by one in sequence, and how do they ensure every single process has been taken care before it goes to the supply. So all these things he understands, but he wasn't completely he was looking for something else, like getting to the heart of it. So that's what he wanted, and so he asked about Estella's family, like what do Estella's kids say, like whether her children know what job she is doing and all those things. So Estella was very excited to share about that, and she was sharing this, like she was showing the candy package and to the author, and she was showing the barcode, where in that barcode they can find out when that particular candy was manufactured, in which batch, like the day and the time. So the interesting part was like her kids also know how to read that batch, the barcode, and they will find out whether that particular batch of candies were made by their mom or not. So whenever they go to the shop, in any grocery shop nearby, the kids they run to the candy section, and then they take some the candies, and then they look at the barcode and they get excited if they come to know that was made in the batch of uh, of their mom. So this was very interesting to know, like because this is something the author felt it's a very good thing to create a video based on for that, because the whole point of conveying that message, how much committed the employees are in making those candies in a very good quality, ensuring the quality of the candies manufactured. This is something to convey that they do it with so much commitment that their own kids consume this candy, and that's how they um, that is the kind of commitment they would put in doing the inspection. So this even when he was making this video, he used this story instead of just giving the stats or data of what all checks they do and all those statistical or complete facts and data. This story was more impactful when this was shared as part of that video. So this is an interesting story the author talks, and so next, let's understand what all are the key ingredients in a story which makes the story very impactful. So there are like six key ingredients he's giving. The first thing is tapping into the emotion, because emotion is the one which actually fuels the story, and it is the one which creates the connection with the people who are listening to it. So the story should tap into the emotions. And the second point is the character for any particular issue which you are going to talk about. You are putting a face for that issue, putting a face or a character who is facing that kind of issue, and that's how it becomes more connected to the people. And the third point is that how much it connects. So this also means that the character should be more relatable to the audience who are listening, and that's how that and the story should connect with people with some realistic story which will easily connect with people. And then the fourth point is it you the fourth ingredient is which is humanizing the audience. Instead of being skeptical, listening to someone telling, they become, they humanize and they listen with empathy and openness. That is how that humanize ingredient work. And the fifth one is the stakes are high. Like in the example of candy factory, the quality check, the stake is how they are ensuring the quality is good, and that is the stake. That's the stake is high because those candies are consumed by their own family, their own children. So that's how the stakes are high, which creates that impact on the story. And the last point is the story shows the things in action instead of just telling what it is. It shows it in action, and that is what makes it more impactful. So these are the six key ingredients. We can use this as a guideline when we are telling the story to ensure all these ingredients are there. And in order to structure a story, he gives us a simple method. Um, if you look at the storytelling itself, right, there are so many techniques and methodologies, but let's get simple at this, and let's learn the basic. So if you want to do use a simple structure for your story, you can use this three step process. First is defining a character which is more relatable to the audience. And the second thing is to set a goal. What is the goal the characters want trying to achieve? That is the goal. And third thing is the challenge. What is the challenge in the for the character to achieve that goal? And that challenge, how the character is overcoming the challenge, is the place where all the drama lies, and it makes the story interesting. And so this is the step process, and the story will have three parts: the beginning, the middle, and the end. So you can start where the beginning of the story will be a normal situation of the character, and in the middle there will be a challenge, and then finally there will be a resolution. So these are the three steps. And if you are creating a story, you can also use these guidelines to create the story. And first step is to determine the audience to whom you're telling the story. What do they want to hear? And the second thing is, what is the thing you want to convey to them? Are you trying to tell about some product? Are you telling about some idea that you have? So you need to look at the goal, what you are going to achieve out of this, and uh, and also determine the audience what they want. And thirdly, analyze what is a challenge in that, and bring in the challenge as part of the story. It will make little the story more interesting. And then the fourth part is the character. You bring a character which is more relatable to the audience. uh, who are the audience? Based on that, they should be able to relate to the character. And finally, the resolution. What is the resolution you are going to come bring into that story to make your idea or the product reach the audience? So these are like 5 points you can use to create a story for your own presentation in any setup. Then now moving on to the emotion part. So how emotions fuels the story? That's what you are going to understand as part of this. So he quotes about the book. He gives a reference to the book Start With Why. We have reviewed this book in the starting of this year. So what I'll just reiterate what we learned and what point he is referring to from that book here. So in Start With Why, the book which we read, there is a concept of um they explain about this limbic brain and the neocortex. So if you look at the brain, there is a limbic brain, and there is another part which is the neocortex. So which involves about the rational thinking and analytical thinking. But the limbic system is the one which is closely associated with the emotions of the people. So that limbic brain is also plays a major role in every human's decision making. So 95 percentage of the decisions made by human are are taken from this limbic brain. So what we are trying to understand here is the emotions will drive the decision making process, and it will make or the influence us to act on it. So that's where it plays a major role. So when we are telling the story, if it connects with the emotion and emotion, it will definitely make more impact, because it's directly connected to the limbic brain, and it is the one which drives us or influences us to act on it. And one example as part of this book, what the author has given here is He was attending a program where it is a non-profit organization which collects all the packaged food, and they give the packaged food to the people who cannot afford to buy food, to the poor people who are below the poverty line. So when he was in that program, he met one person who is working in that non-profit organization, and he was just discussing with her, and she was sharing her experience, why she was doing this volunteering work, and trying to uh, collect all the food, and give this delivering this food to the people. She herself was in her past was in a situation where she was depending on the people who are giving her food through this non-profit organization, and that really impacted her, and that because of that, when she got into a better position, she also started doing that, and she also involved in that non-profit organization in order to do the service for the people. And this particular story of the women really moved the author so much, and immediately he donated some money for that organization, and also he got some packaged food, and he also donated that food for that. So this is an example, or to show like how it really makes us to take some action on it. And so I'll give one small example from my own life. Like in few days back, like I went for a music concert. So in that concert, it was organized by a non-profit organization where they were taking help from people to raise the fund to build some small houses for the people in India where they don't have proper place to stay, and they were just staying in small house, like a small house with just a sheet, the all that thick plastic sheets. So they did not have even a proper house to stay. So they showed a video of the people who are living there, and this team had gone to that place interviewing that people, and they made a video, and showing their situation. It really impacted me and my friend, and everyone who are attending that program, and it really moved me to make some donation to that organization, because we could see that real pain of the people through that video whatever they shared in that program. So that is another example from my own life where I can tell you like how this emotion really makes us to take action on it. And the third point here is getting getting personal. Like whenever you're telling some story in any setup, like a business meeting or anywhere, it's okay to get little personal and share your own personal stories, because you will connect more with your own stories and experiences, and that will bring in the real connection with the audience who is listening. So it 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 might make a greater impact when you are telling the story from your own personal experience, because you will be talking about your own passion, and it will fuel your own emotions while you're expressing that story or the experience. And that's where I wanted to share that experience of the first flying experience. Hope you are able to connect to that story. And Yeah, moving on to the next few chapters where author talks about other things similar to the story, like he talks about cousins of story. So these are like the cousins of story, the metaphor, analogy, and comparison. So we can compare something. If you don't want to really build a complete story for explaining something, you can use these techniques like metaphor or analogy. Analogy is something even they use in the school education and the college education, where when they want to teach some tough subject, they compare it with another simple thing, and then they teach that subject, which will make the people to understand that more easily. And so these are like cousins of stories. And while telling the story, the other tip the author is saying is to use sensory words like the sensory words, which talks about the touch, sound, taste, smell, and vision, and all these things. So this will make the audience more engaged because these are directly connected to our own senses. So that's how it's important to bring in these words while telling the story. So, and apart from this, he also gives some more tips to tell story in a business setup, depending upon your presentation. That the time given for your presentation, if it is if it's like an half an hour presentation or a 40 minutes presentation, you can bring in some story for 3 minutes, 2 3 minutes story, like maybe like three or four stories. That should be okay, but ensure based on your time you plan how and where to fit in the stories. And also the other part is when you're um, yeah, when you're telling the story, so generally what we do is sometimes we might think, okay, let's search for some story on the internet and we can tell. So the uh, maybe the disadvantage of that is sometimes that people would have heard that story over and over again. So that's where we have to look out for stories in our life and inspiration and stories in our own life. Observe and look out, and maybe if it created an impact in within you, that will help you to tell that story to an audience in some setup in the future. So keep looking out for small stories or experiences which you can tell people. And that's all the other tips he talks about in this book. And definitely I would suggest you to read this book. And to summarize, I will just quickly walk through what we learned from the starting. First, we talked about the author. He's a business executive as well as an actor, and he has written a lot of books and he has given a lot of TED talks on presentation. And the second part was about the essentials of storytelling, why storytelling is important. And since there are a lot of information and noise outside, storytelling is a tool to express your idea and make a greater impact on people. And everyone can be a storyteller. You don't have to be a natural storyteller, you can still learn the skill of telling stories. And to start with, you can use these simple techniques author gives in this book. And also we learned that how it breaks down the walls between the people and let them open up and make them more cooperative. And we also learned about how it influences people to act upon the things. And we learned about the effect of the storytelling on the brain, how the oxytocin hormone works, and how the neurons that are related that activates the same part of brain which is associated with the experience. and how it creates a feeling of empathy and the desire to cooperate and makes the audience soften and open up to your to listen to you. And then we heard about the story of Estella, about how she does the quality of her work, and which means that she ensures every day that the candy is safe enough for her kids to consume uh, without any without missing anything in the quality check. And then we learnt about the six key ingredients which we need to look for in the story, which will make the story more impactful, tapping into the emotion of the audience, and then keeping a character, putting a face to that issue, and making the character more relatable to the audience, and then how the story connects with the audience, whether the story will really connect with the audience, is it realistic and relatable, and then how does the story humanize the audience, and how is the stakes are high, which will create more interest in the story, and how the story shows the things in action instead of showing telling what to do, it shows the message in actions. So we can use these key ingredients as a reference point to make our story more impactful. And and then we learned about the simple structure of the story, how to create a structure, creating the character, and then the goal, and what are the challenges, and what is the journey of overcoming all these challenges and reaching the goal. And it has the beginning, middle, and end. Beginning of the story, a normal, then a challenge in the middle, and then again the resolution at the end. And then we learnt about how to create a story with 5 steps, determining the audience, and then determining what is our goal, what do you want to convey, then determining the challenges, and determining the character, and also the resolution. Then we learnt about how it fuels the emotion and how it connects to the emotional part of the brain, which is actually responsible for the decision making, and how it influences people to act upon it. And also, we also learn to get personal and share the experience our own life, which will make us more connected to the audience who are listening to us. And finally, we also learnt about the other aspects similar to stories. We have metaphor, analogy, and comparison, where you want to convey something in a different way instead of story. You can use these techniques, and using the sensory words, which is related to the touch, vision, sound, smell, taste, and everything, movement, and everything. And we also learnt about um, making the story very short and crisp, cutting out all the unnecessary details and focusing on the necessary details in the story, and build a good story to make it very impactful to the audience. And so these are the things we learned, and hope you enjoyed this. I hope this will help you to tell good stories, and gives you a good takeaway from this. And thank you very much for listening. Happy storytelling. Thank you.